Shqipëria po kalon një nga momentet më intensive të transformimit në historinë e saj të afërt. Qytetet po zgjerohen, infrastruktura po zgjatet drejt territoreve të reja dhe peizazhet natyrore po përballen me kërkesa gjithnjë e më të mëdha për zhvillim. Në këtë moment ndryshimi, pyetja nuk është vetëm çfarë ndërtojmë, por si ndërtojmë. Jo vetëm si zhvillohen qytetet, por si bashkëjetojnë ato me lumenjt, pyjet, malin, bregdetin dhe sistemet e gjalla që formësojnë territorin shqiptar. Për t'ju përgjigjur pikërisht këtyre pyetjeve, nga data 3 deri më 5 qershor, Tirana mirëpriti edicionin e 2 të Bread and Heart Festival, një platformë ndërkombëtare që mblodhi mbi 1000 arkitekt, urbanist, studiues, zhvillues dhe profesionist nga Europa, Azia, Amerika e Veriut dhe Amerika Latine për të diskutuar të ardhmen e peizazhit shqiptar.
There was the valley breathing. The river finding its own argument with stone.
Thank you.
We wanted to challenge ourselves and all of you by picking a theme that unfortunately is always used to confront the architects, to confront the developers, to confront the energies of imagining and of daring to build different realities, and challenging ourselves and challenging you to help us understand it better. It means trying to also realize our limits, your limits, and in the meantime trying to listen to each other about how we can overcome those limits, how we can make a further step in proving that conserving nature is not at all, in any time and anywhere, just the same attitude of not developing. Conserving nature can be and should be also about developing in harmony with nature, not to put nature in the service of the people, but also to put people in the service of the nature.
Në temën peizazhe të Bollëkut, festivali propozoi një zhvendosje të këndvështrimit nga ndërtesa si objekti izoluar, te peizazhi si sistem marrëdhëniesh. Vëmendja u zhvendos nga forma e veçantë drejt tokës, ujit, biodiversitetit, infrastrukturës dhe proceseve ekologjike që ndërtojnë identitetin e territorit shqiptar. Shtresat e padukshme që lidhin natyrën me qytetin u bën struktura konceptuale e festivalit. Book building në zemër të Tiranës u shndërrua në një peizazh kërkimi dhe debati ku çdo kat eksploronte një dimension të ndryshëm të marrëdhënies mes arkitekturës dhe mjedisit.
In places like Albania, how can we build by preserving the abundance of landscape, it is first of all to work with the nature, with the landscape, and not to act against it. It is about finding ways how we could bring everything in harmony. Of course, we need to create for the people, but people also enjoy landscape. Landscape is the heart of our existence.
I'm fascinated about the development of this festival because former year it was fantastic, very warm, and this year it's another dimension. It's obviously more exciting because you have a lot of projects, model with different clients, different architects, and so on, public and private.
It was quite a shock when I was here that we saw so many of each other all of a sudden in one space last night. It was incredible. Sometimes we didn't see each other for 20 or 30 years. I'm very happy I'm here, and I'm also happy to just put aside everything and listen to everyone, because people have a lot to say, and many people have a lot of experience, and the younger generation tells about their new discoveries and perspectives. So it's very useful for all of us.
I ndërtuar mbi idenë kuratoriale nga portretit e peizazhi, festivali ftoi pjesëmarrësit të shohin përtej ndërtesës individuale dhe të lexojnë territorin si një tërësi. Në qendër të diskutimit nuk ishte më vetëm autori apo objekti arkitekturor, por marrëdhënia mes njerëzve, natyrës, ekonomisë dhe kulturës.
I think as architects we have learned to conceive, to convince, to draw, but I think we didn't learn enough to listen. And when you listen at a sort of pre-existing landscape, ecosystem, you can become more creative and you can really conceive projects which are rooted in a sort of common story that we are building together. So yes, I think it was a departure point about this question of landscape, of abundance, but we could continue with that because the notion of abundance, it's also the fact that we have to intensify activities, but we have also to intensify the landscape in which we are developing our architecture.
Artificial and nature should have some beautiful relationship. So when you have a built environment in any surrounding, it should create this poetic feelings. I think that's bring value to the architecture. Also, when people occupy the building, they have some emotional connection to the nature. I think that's the way.
So this thing about going from portrait to landscape is just perfect, because that's exactly what we want to do. Everything should not just be coming from the outside, you know, a big concept dropping into some random place. Everything should instead grow from below and become what it becomes, because it's exactly in that context. And that said, it also needs to give back to the community, give back to the city. When we are so brutal as architects to come and take space in the city, we need to give something back in return. So this agenda about making things that are good for the everyday life is really what's interesting for us. So for us, it's never been about the big portrait of the high-rise from the distance. It's always been about the landscape, the landing, how it sits in the place, how it relates to the community, etc.
Përmes konferencave, paneleve, sesioneve akademike dhe strukturave të diskutimeve, ekspertë arkitekturës dhe dizajnit shkëmbyen idetë dhe këndvështrimet e tyre për mënyrën si mund të vijojë zhvillimi urban, duke ruajtur mjedisin.
I'm coming from a country, or let's say city, where everything is preserved. Also the cities, the density, and cities are expanding more and more. Here, what I would see in Tirana and on many cities also on the coast is a very high densification. And I think that is the best way, the best tool to preserve landscape as much as possible.
We had a conversation earlier today, again, a little bit about Dures, and I think a topic came up which I believe was a little bit there also last year, which is, and it's a bit of a black and white position I take here now, but it's a little bit an argument against final master planning, where you'd say that the constellation of things is perhaps a much more interesting way to deal with what is in front of us. So where a project and another project and the way certain projects interact, to a certain extent you could say the way you could curate these projects is able, I think, to do things in the city, in the landscape, in the territory, if it's well done, with the highest quality, of course, which master planning, which is, I think, very common in Europe, for example, is not always able to achieve.
Shqipëria mbetet një nga peizazhet më të pasura ekologjikisht në Europë. Nga Alpet te laguna dhe vija bregdetare, nga lumenjtë e egër te pyjet mesdhetare. Territori shqiptar përbën një pasuri të jashtëzakonshme natyrore. Pikërisht, kjo pasuri e bën dhe më urgjente pyetjen se si mund të zhvillohet vendi, pa humbur burimin më të madh të bollokut të tij, vetë peizazhin.
And more precisely, I think we need to think of our practice as, or architecture as a little bit like an engine of moving parts, where things are moving, rolling, exchanging. There's a cycle. So this idea of let's say, a metabolist cycle I find very interesting, and this is where landscape comes in as a kind of cycle of resources, of growth and decay of plants and animals and life cycles and energy cycles. I think this is the mindset that I would like to have to approach architecture.
It has to now to have this conscious that the landscape is not endlessly like to be built over, and so that's certainly one thing for every country in the world, but especially also for Albania.
Në një kohë kur kufind politik, ekonomik dhe kulturor po bëhen gjithnjë më të fortë, Bredenhart propozoi të kundërtën. Një hapësirë shkëmbimi ku përvoja ndërkombëtare takohet me realitetin shqiptar dhe ku dialogu bëhet mjet për të imagjinuar të ardhme të përbashkëta.
What is very special in Albania for the moment, I mean, is that since there's not yet too many rules, which can be very problematic, it's also very, very, very powerful if people with a desire to make quality can create that kind of dialogue, that constellation. And I think and I feel that's shared with many of my colleagues, often I'm in a way amazed by what is possible through that. You know, that in a sense a place where nobody yet knows very well what is possible.
Në këtë kontekst, arkitektura bëhet pjesë e një bisede më të gjerë, duke na nxitur të gjithëve të rishqyrtojmë marrëdhënien tonë me botën natyrore dhe të riimagjinojmë rolin e arkitekturës në përmbushjen e nevojave hapësinore brenda kufive ekologjik të planetit.
I have never been to any place anywhere in the world that works like this. It's so utterly unique, so many people brought together in one place, and everyone has sort of understood this climate of being open and exchange. The most important quality of this festival is to bring all architects together, because I really think that we are creating a sort of very big friendship between us. There is a sort of very warm welcome, and it helps creating this sharing spirit between all the architects.
Sot, mbi 200 studio ndërkombëtare po punojnë në Shqipëri përmes konkurseve, projekteve, kërkimeve dhe bashkëpunimeve lokale. Braden Hart, Buk dhe Zemër i ftoi këto praktika të reflektojnë mbi një pyetje të përbashkët. Si mund të ndërtojmë duke forcuar peizazhin dhe jo duke e konsumuar atë?
The way the rest of Europe, compared to Albania, has been developed, it's a good thing to have, and it will be to really think and reflect. So to think about how people made things in other places and how we really could do it very different here.
I like it when you manage both the natural landscape and the history, the existing condition. And with this kind of balance, I think we could provide some new spaces, a new architecture, use some different material, and finally we redesign the existing landscape, the existing architecture in another world.
First is sometimes decide not to build, and that's a question I've asked a lot of times is, should you be building here? And I think that could be addressed more. Like some places you should just not build, and I think architects should stand up to that. I do that in Norway and Canada and other places where we've been approached to do things, and I said it's probably not a good idea, and then we help them find another site or strategy.
We still need to pay a lot of attention to climate, to nature preservation, biodiversity, to keeping the balance between the places the architecture, the places we need to build, to live and to do our work and so on, for our economy, very important, but the balance also with nature preservation and regeneration.
Duke u nisur nga përvoja e gjatë, studiot arkitekturore të pranishme në festival sollën jo vetëm shembuj projektesh, por dhe dilema. Ku duhet të ndërhyjmë, ku duhet ndalur dhe si mund të lexohet peizazhi shqiptar jo si një sfond për ndërtim, por si një pasuri që kërkon kujdes, inteligjencë dhe mas.
Well, actually, I'm from China. I want to bring some inspiration from classic way doing buildings. People do Chinese gardens, for example. Chinese garden, they use natural material for sure, but the real value is the atmosphere they create. When you walk through this structure environment, you love nature. You feel that nature is the extension of your spiritual world.
Brussels, for example, the city where I come from, I mean, the very big forest is an entirely planted forest. So I think it's about getting rid of the, I would say, the opposition. I think that's important. Now, at the same time, getting rid of the opposition does not mean one should build everywhere. No? I think it might mean that certain areas are so special. Maybe they were not original, but maybe they became somehow natural landscape. So I think we shouldn't touch them.
Like in Norway, for example, right now we're being asked to do 1.5 cars, parking spaces per apartment, so which is a rule, but nobody tells you to plant 2 trees per apartment, which is, this is what I want to see, how nature gets a voice in institutional organizations, not just cars.
We are situated in Amsterdam, and besides our practice, we also engage in a little grassroots activity of our own. We got together with our neighbors and our own community to green our own street. And so I think we can, then we have to get together with people who are also willing and also able to achieve that change.
If you grow up in an urban area, never having played on a grass field, never having smelled flowers, no relationship to trees, then you don't care about nature. So even for the most dense urban places, we need to bring nature in.
Many Albanians have left Albania, as we saw with Demeron's lecture, all over the world. So it's really an issue all over Europe, in the mountainous areas and in the villages, how to rejuvenate them and how to bring them new life, and to make something of them that it's interesting again for young people to come back.
Për 3 ditë me radhë, festivali transformoi Tiranën në epiqendër të arkitekturës dhe dizajnit, duke ndërthurur diskursin arkitektonik të klasit botëror me ngrohtësinë e thellë të mikpritjes shqiptare.
Albanians are a bit like where I grew up in Canada and Newfoundland. They'll do anything for you. It's like part of the character that the world needs more of, especially now. I don't come here just to work, I come here to explore. And that's why so to learn, there's a nature, food, hospitality, and a lot of these, well, a lot of the clients we have, they're from, they grew up when I grew up. The last one thing is the urban life. I always have a joke, it's like, if you're walking in a street in Albania, should be a sign, last cafe for the next 50 meters. It's just kind of, so there's like this urban culture that the world is getting away from.
Megjithse me qasje dhe përvoja të ndryshme, shumë prej arkitektëve të ftuar ndanë të njëjtin shqetësim. Si mund të vazhdojë zhvillimi pa humbur pasurinë e peizazhit? Në këtë kuptim, peizazhi nuk u pasi një kufizim për zhvillim, por si kushti kryesor për ta bërë atë më të qëndrueshëm, më cilësor dhe më afatgjatë. Në një territor ende të pasur me burime natyrore, biodiversitet dhe hapësira, sfida është të gjenden forma zhvillimi që e forcojnë këtë pasuri në vend që ta konsumojnë atë. Në të njëjtën kohë, ky dialog mbetet i paplot, pa përfshirjen më të gjerë të aktorëve shqiptar të peizazhit, komuniteteve, studiuesve, artistëve, ekologëve, fermerëve dhe institucioneve, për ta kthyer këtë debat në një proces sa më të hapur dhe kolektiv.
So, together we're going to really create something that is nourished by the experience of the other, but then the sensibility and the heart of Albanian people. And with that, you're creating something that is unique.
Fuqinë e bashkëpunimit dhe rezultatin që sjell shkëmbimi i ideve mes të rinjve dhe profesionistëve, mes shqiptarëve dhe të huajve, e rrëfen arkitekti me famë botërore Kristian Keres, I cili prej një viti e ka vendosur zyrën e tij në Tiranë.
We are working now since 1 year in Albania. We like it a lot. It's an international team. Most people working in my office would not be allowed to work in Europe, would not be allowed to work in the United States, even if they were teaching there or learning there. So we love that Albania is such an open country, and we like the people a lot.
Të rrethuar nga qindra makete që tregojnë Shqipërinë e sotme dhe skicojnë Shqipërinë e nesërme. Pjesëmarrësit u angazhuan në një seri bisedash mbi tokën, ujin dhe qytetin, duke eksploruar se si arkitektura mund të bëhet pjesë e proceseve më të gjera ekologjike dhe territoriale. Në ditën e dytë, arkitektët u mblodhën në Kengo Kuma Art Park në Petrel, një ish kazermë ushtarake që po shndërrohet në një park arti dhe krijimtarie. Projekti mishëron një ide të pranishme në punën e Kengo Kumas. Arkitektura nuk duhet të dominojë peizazhin, por të krijojë një dialog të ndjeshëm me të, duke e bërë natyrën pjesë të përvojës së përditshme.
Big advantage of the country is a kind of untouched place. Mountains and the beaches and the forests, there's many untouched places. And to work with that kind of untouched place is very important for architect. Architect they can think about the future of the place from scratch. From scratch is very exceptional situation for us.
Për Kengo Kuman, arkitektura fiton kuptim kur bëhet pjesë e peizazhit dhe jo kur vendoset mbi të. Në këtë frymë ai e sheh Shqipërinë jo si një vend ku importohen modele të gatshme, por si një territor me identitetin, materialet dhe historitë e veta, prej të cilave mund të lindin forma të reja arkitekture.
As you know, the Japanese construction is very precise, and everything is too precise, I feel. For the projects like this, we need to respect the place, and we should respect the diversity. Albania is a country of diversity. The people, religiously, is diverse and very generous. I really like that kind of attitude. So I want to learn that attitude to my practice.
Përtej konferencave dhe paneleve, festivali u shndërrua në një laborator eksperimental. Pjesëmarrësit morën rolin e aktorëve të ndryshëm të peizazhit, bim, kafsh, sisteme natyrore dhe komunitete njerëzore, për të imagjinuar mënyra të reja bashkëtese mes qytetit dhe natyrës.
Today, especially, we had invited workshop on two special areas where we and other architects are building on, which are Sauk and Farka, so very also delicate area that are in between the city and the nature. So how to not violate the area, how to build there, and it was very much important to meet colleagues from all over the world working there and have this idea in common to share the experience in order to create an urban and more quality space, collective space, even from private space. The idea is to have common space for everybody, for people living there.
I think there are ways to actually build in landscapes in such a way that we highlight, emphasize, and in some cases even increase the sustainable potential of a particular place through a number of strategies which are both spatial but also material in nature.
Shqipëria është formësuar nga shtresa të ndryshme historie, transformimesh dhe mënyra jetese që kanë lënë gjurmë në territor. Përballë ndryshimeve të sotme, sfida nuk është të fshihen këto shtresa, por të kuptohen, të riinterpretohen dhe të marrin jetë të re në marrëdhënie me nevojat e së ardhmes.
Every year, as Albania changes a lot, and as the audience should enjoy the change, should enjoy diversity and enjoy change. It is very important for as a young generation.
Dhe në fund, Breton Heart nuk u kufizua vetëm si festival arkitekture. Ai u kthye në një platformë reflektimi mbi mënyrën se si duhet të jetojmë, të ndërtojmë dhe të zhvillohemi. Në një vend ku transformimi ndodh me shpejtësi, sfida nuk është thjesht të prodhojmë më shumë arkitekturë, por të krijojmë një marrëdhënie të mençur mes zhvillimit dhe peizazhit, sepse bolloku i vërtet nuk matet vetëm me atë që ndërtojmë, por me atë që arrijmë të ruajmë dhe t'u lëmë brezave që vijnë.